Journal number 3. Ooh. I want to focus mostly on the coronavirus situation that we have going on right now, because I think that there's a lot to digest within the world of the government response, higher education response, and like regular people responding as well. So for me personally, the coronavirus has changed everything with how I do school, with how I do my assistantship, practicum, everything. I don't work at Red Lobster anymore, which was another source of income for me. Thankfully, my boyfriend currently got a new position, and so he's making good money, but we are mostly relying on my student loans, or at least I personally am. Student loans is like the main source of income for me right now because the contract money that I was supposed to be getting is now ending. Fortunately, my supervisor is letting me stay on and just make less money, which is totally fine. I'm thankful for it because there's nothing else that I can do right now except for apply for unemployment, and I'm not even sure if I can because I am a student, a full-time student. So there's a whole lot of blurred lines that I don't have answers to, and I'm not sure how I can get those answers because my friend, who's also a server, she said that she's called the unemployment line and can't get a hold of anyone and still hasn't gotten any money, and it's been over a month since she's applied. So, needless to say, I think the government was not prepared for this, and the going because they weren't prepared, there's been so many atrocities that have come to fruition because of that. I understand that this is a situation that's really weird, and probably couldn't have been fully prepared for, but to have nothing in place, it's very disappointing to see in a country like America. And I don't want to get too into the political sphere, but I think overall, everywhere in that sphere has been slacking for people like me and people lower than me who need help desperately. I'm doing pretty okay. I have money from my student loans, so that's totally fine. But to think that $1,000 is going to fix everything is just mind-boggling to me because I go back to my people at Red Lobster and how desperately they needed a $5 tip. They were not doing good prior to this coronavirus outbreak. Now they have not worked for more than a month, and I wonder how they're coping, how they're dealing with this. Most of them have so many children. Most couldn't even make rent beforehand. I just wonder where they're at. And like, unemployment's not that much. Being a server, you make at least $1,000 a month if you work consistently enough. So my heart's with them, and I just constantly think about my privilege, but also like how I'm not that privileged, like I live in a 700 square foot apartment with no yard. We live on the second floor. We can't move that loudly to work out if we wanted to. Yes, my apartment complex has nice property, but am I allowed outside? The rules are so unclear to me, at least. And so the world right now is just, I feel like, not giving much of a crap to people who are like me and lower. And I say that because like I just see like $1,000 and they think, yeah, you can do that. But I think about people in New York and that's their whole rent. So I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on that $1,000 that they sent us, and I'm hoping that the government does help some more. But then I also think like, oh, you didn't like it when Bernie or anyone else was saying stuff like this, and that was socialism, and we're currently relying on that. So that's something that I've been thinking about too. So anxiety in the world of coronavirus, I just don't have faith in our uppers. I don't feel like people up there give a crap about people down here. I really just don't. And I've always known that this was a thing, but it's just becoming more and more apparent as this virus keeps going, because like the essential workers are just sacrificial, and I think we keep seeing that, and so that's been very interesting. I do have hope that hopefully this changes things up. If you're considered essential right now, maybe you'll be treated better. I don't think so. I think that people are want to go right back to the normal life that they used to live. But I'm optimistic that this will highlight the disparities. But we'll see. In the realm of higher education, I think that this is an interesting conversation. I am at a crossroads with how Ball State delivered their messages to students. I felt like we were in the dark for a lot of it. So I'm not that pleased with how Ball State handled the situation. I felt like they kept dragging us along. Seeing the tweet about if you move out, like, you could get in trouble, meaning that you'll get charged. Like, there was a lot of misinformation. Then, like, Ball State, like, getting crappy, I felt like, with faculty, and not faculty, staff, like, who were wanting to work from home. And then, like, 2 days later, they're like, oh, yeah, you can work from home. It's like, what? And again, like, I know that this is a hard situation to plan for, but also we now have to create a plan for this in the future, because this is not going to be the last pandemic to happen. So I just felt like our response was delayed. Our response was not cohesive. The information was not spread. I also feel like there should have been a trickle down, like, of information. I don't know if that would have helped, but this is something that I thought about, like, giving the information, talk about, discuss to, like, the next people, like, under the president and the board of trustees, and then, like, keep going. And so, like, instead of having everyone know at the same time. Because right now we're also at a crossroads where we don't know if classes are going to be held online. And I know that this comes with time. But also, students are making their decisions on what to do. Students are struggling right now. The emails that I've read and had to discuss with students with disabilities in this time is heartbreaking. How do you have a reader for a test on a lockdown browser? You can't. Like, some professors don't want. They want to have the screen and, like, the person to watch you, and, like, if that person hears another person, they're gonna say you're cheating. And so, like, professors have not been that receptive to this change and evolution of education, and it's been hard. It's, like, been pulling teeth. And, like, I got yelled at by a professor saying that we were not accommodating a student. And I was like, lady, this has never happened before. And we are working individually with about 1,000 students right now, and to how their accommodations are going to be seen going forward. And she was not wanting to talk to me about that. She was just wanting to say we were doing a bad job. And I was just like, yeah, we need to have a plan for this now, in the future, and we'll have a better plan. But also, having 2 professionals in an office serving 13,000 students right now is really difficult, and I feel for my supervisors and my students. I've seen a lot of sadness, and a lot of students are dropping out because of this. So I'm not sure on how this is going to change higher education. I don't think it really will. I think that hopefully sick leave and paternity and maternity leaves will be longer, hopefully, because we know that this can all be done online. So I'm not that optimistic, unfortunately, because I know how our world works. I'm hoping that people who are underprivileged and underrepresented in the government start hearing their voices and their concerns louder. But yeah, great journal.